Your Excellency, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, my dear friend, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the United Nations family, I thank Prime Minister Ahmed for hosting this event and the people of Ethiopia for their warm welcome. The commemorative stamp, a series, will be launched today, not only a tribute to the United Nations on its 80th anniversary. It is also a reminder of the close partnership between Ethiopia and the organization, a partnership with roots that stretch back to our earlier days. Ethiopia is one of the original 51 nations that signed the United Nations Charter in San Francisco in 1945. And today, it remains a crucial champion of multilateralism and international cooperation. And I want to pay tribute to Ethiopia. Ethiopia represents an old civilization. And when one sees the success of the development in Ethiopia, the fastest growing economy in the world, I have to say that those that have a solid past tend to have a solid future. Ethiopia was able to preserve its independence when most of the continent was divided by colonial powers. And again, that was possible thanks to the strength of the civilization that Ethiopia represented. And Ethiopia has been, in the United Nations, a champion for all other African countries to become independent. Not only you were able to represent Africa in the signing of the Charter, but you have been working hard to make sure that all African states could become members of the United Nations after gaining their independence with your support. Now, this very city of Addis Ababa that I visit at least once a year, and I never recognize it. It is changing with the speed of light. But this city has become one of the most significant global diplomatic centers in Africa. As home to the headquarters of the African Union, and as the continent's third largest United Nations duty station, hosting one of our largest country teams in the world. For decades, Ethiopian women and men have served with distinction as uniformed and civilian personnel in United Nations peace operations, agencies, funds and programs around the globe. Collectively, they have helped protect civilians, build stability, and strengthen peace in some of the most difficult and dangerous places in the world. And our partnership goes both ways. The United Nations has been, and we want to be, a committed partner to Ethiopia. And a partner whose team here has as only objective to serve the Ethiopian people and to make sure that we support the strategy of the Ethiopian government. Supporting national and regional efforts to consolidate peace and spurring development, delivering humanitarian assistance in times of need, but helping build institutions that can serve and represent all Ethiopians. At the same time, we stand firmly with the people of Ethiopia and the people of Africa in their calls for a just representation across the institutions of global governance. And this means reforming the Security Council to reflect today's world and to redress the historical injustice against Africa by making its permanent representation a priority to enhance the Council's legitimacy and effectiveness. Africa was a double victim of colonialism to which Ethiopia was able to escape. First, because of the impact of colonialism itself, and second, because as the institutions of governance that exist in today's world, from the UN to Bretton Woods and several others, were created when most of the African continent was still under colonial domination. But fortunately, Africa was represented since the beginning by Ethiopia. And with Ethiopia, you have a very legitimate claim for the need for the UN to reform and for an African presence in permanent members of the Security Council to become a reality. But also claiming the need for a reform of the global financial institutions through the increased participation and representation of developing countries, in particular Africa, across decision-making processes. We see African countries with all the problems that exist in parts of the continent, but we see African countries today in the front line of economic development. Ethiopia as the most advanced one, but other African countries are showing remarkable resilience in relation to the difficulties and obstacles and an enormous success in developing their own economies. One reason more for Africa to be much more represented in the international financial institutions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this commemorative stamp series invites us to reflect on what has been achieved worldwide since 1945, from preventing and resolving conflicts, including avoiding a third world war, to eradicating diseases and easing hunger and malnutrition, to supporting decolonization and the self-determination of peoples, to expanding education and health to vulnerable and remote communities, to advancing and defending international law and human rights, and to forge collaborative solutions to help countries build development and resilience around the world. In our world of challenge, change and division, the core promise of the United Nations, peace, justice and prosperity for all, remains as valid and urgent today as it was 8 years ago. May these stamps that Ethiopia is generously printing remind us of our shared history and also our enduring responsibility to forge a better future for Africa and for our world. And we count on Ethiopia to be one of the leading countries in this way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency.